my name's Teresa, Lokmane's behind the camera, and we're based here in Tangier, Morocco. Thank you so much for following us on our journey here, and for those of you who have subscribed and watched the videos, we really appreciate it. And I absolutely love sharing these grain-free, dairy-free, kind of healing recipes with you all. So we really appreciate you tuning in today. We'll be making a delicious banana bread. So growing up, my dad always made banana bread. So today we're going to be making a grain-free, dairy-free version using almond flour. Always made banana bread. So today we're going to be making a grain-free, dairy-free version using almond flour, coconut oil, and some other good stuff. So stick around. We won't be using any sugar as well today, so we'll be using honey, which is awesome. And this bread turns out really moist and really delicious. So stick around, we'll get started. The ingredients today are coconut shreds. We're using almond flour. As you see, I love to use almond flour, honey, coconut oil, cinnamon, some baking soda, bananas, and eggs. Now I have walnuts here because I want to put walnuts as like an add-on into the bread, but you can also put chocolate or like some chocolate chunks. I've put raisins before. You can put anything and everything that sounds good to you in banana bread, but I really love it with just some nice walnuts. As I said before, we're using honey today. I like to use honey in a lot of the things I bake as a substitute for sugar. Of course, it changes the consistency a bit of whatever you're baking, so it's really important to measure out the amount of honey you're using. Sometimes if I try to wing it with honey, it doesn't really work and I end up not putting enough. So I just would say take care, make sure you measure your honey out for this recipe. Also, coconut oil has been so healing for me. I find I use coconut oil in everything. I cook with it, I roast things with it, I bake with it, I put it on my body. But it also is a really nice oil because it's a high heat oil. So when you bake with it or if you fry things with it, I always roast cauliflower in coconut oil. It's a really good oil. You're not going to break it down too much. It's still going to maintain its healthy components. So I really like coconut oil. Again, we've touched on bildi eggs, so we're using some nice pasture-raised eggs today. And I have 3 kind of medium-sized bananas. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started. We're just mixing everything in one bowl again, which is really nice. So today, the first thing I do is smash my bananas. So I already took them out before I got to show you, but I just wanted to tell you that you need the bananas to be really ripe. So of course, this means they've already started breaking down and they're squishy, so they're perfect for the banana bread. But it also, if you have digestion issues, it's the perfect way to eat the banana. Wait for them to get nice and ripe. That way it's much easier on your digestive system. So just a random fact for those of you with kind of IBS, IBD, some digestion issues. Anyway, so I'm just mashing my bananas. I have 3 medium or 2 large bananas, but I would always say more banana better. And Alright, so I'm leaving some chunks here because I think it's really nice when you're eating the bread to get a little chunk of banana. So as you see here, I begin to blend it up and squish them, but I'm leaving some nice chunks. Maybe I can get this one. Anyway, so you're looking for something that slightly resembles this. Great, so I'll begin to mix everything in my big bowl here. I do put the wet ingredients first and then the dry ingredients on top and just build from there. So first things first, I'll put my smashed banana in the bowl. And again, it's 3 medium or 2 large bananas. If you're not sure if it's medium or large, just throw an extra banana or a little bit more because I definitely would err on the side of more banana rather than less here. Alrighty, so then I have coconut oil. I need 3 tablespoons of coconut oil. So my coconut oil is solid. It depends on the day. Sometimes if it's warm, it's liquid. If it's cold, it's solid. So I'm just using, 3 nice tablespoons of pure coconut oil here. You do want to make sure that your coconut oil isn't super hard, because I realized baking, if you use solid coconut oil and don't really mix it in well, then things will turn out different in the oven as opposed if you use a warmer liquefied oil that really blends into the ingredients. So I would warm it, if yours is nice and solid, lightly warm it just so it can blend into the rest of the wet ingredients. Okay, and then I'm using a 1/2 cup of honey. Again, honey is a huge topic. There are so many different types of honey. There's raw honey. I mean, you could go on for days talking about different types of honey. Here in Morocco, there are definitely ranges of kind of the purest, best honey, as opposed to some honey that's maybe mixed with sugar, as is so probably back home in the States too. You find different ranges of honey. So we try to find the middle balance here, because we use a lot of it to cook and bake. So we want to make sure it's not filled with sugar, of course, but we're not buying the really raw, delicious, perfectly pure honey. We use that honey for other types of things that we're not baking. So today we're using kind of a mid-range, closer to the better honey, and we'll use 1/2 cup. Great, so we'll put our honey in. And again, I like to mix, I smash the bananas in this big mixing cup, and then I also measure everything out. So it makes it nice. I only have to do a little bit of dishes. Or maybe Lokmane will do the dishes. Okay, anyway, so I have my coconut oil, my banana, and my honey in here. And now I have to put in 3 eggs. So again, I have smashed bananas, a 1/2 cup of honey, 3 tablespoons coconut oil, and I'm using 3 eggs. So we always have to test our eggs here. Great, so we have all of our wet ingredients. We're going to go ahead and mix that all together. Lokmane, Aji. Come, Lokmane. Okay, so you see, this is the wet ingredients here. The chunks are the banana. I've tried to break down all of the other ingredients. So the oil, the eggs, everything else is mixed in. The chunks you see are going to be banana. Okay, cool. So we have all of our wet ingredients. Now we need to put all of our dry ingredients. So that means almond flour, coconut shreds. You can use flour as well if you don't have shreds. Baking soda and cinnamon. So I'm using 2 cups of almond flour. Again, I come back to my same measuring cup. It maybe looks crazy, but it's so easy to just measure everything in 1 jar and then do less dishes. Yeah, I got about 2 cups. So I'm gonna mix this in right on top of all of the wet ingredients. Again, you can do this in a separate bowl, and oftentimes baking recipes always say, yeah, mix the dry ingredients in a separate bowl so that you ensure they're well mixed before you mix them into the bowl with all the wet ingredients. However, I disagree a little bit, or at least as long as you mix all the dry ingredients on top and you mix it thoroughly on top before you fold it into the wet ingredients, as far as I'm concerned, that's good. So that's what I do. So I have 2 cups of almond flour, and now I'm going to use 3 tablespoons of coconut shreds. And the cool thing about coconut, so if you don't cook with coconut a lot, you maybe don't realize this just yet, but coconut is so absorbent. So coconut flour and coconut shreds absorb liquid like crazy. So you'll see that most recipes call for very little coconut because otherwise all the moisture you put in there will be soaked up. So that's why this recipe is just calling for 3 tablespoons. And then I'm using some baking soda. So 1 teaspoon of baking soda. And then in the recipe I say about a teaspoon of cinnamon. I love cinnamon, Lokmane loves cinnamon, so we're just gonna go all in for cinnamon. Okay, cool. So now I'm going to gently mix all these ingredients together at the top. Again, I'm just folding all the dry ingredients in before I'm gonna mix the wet. And I'm trying to squish all the chunks, if there's any chunks of flour, right? Because we want the flour to be well mixed into the wet ingredients. So I give this a nice little mix. And then, once I feel everything is well mixed, I'm going to mix everything together. And as I mix this, you'll see over time, as the almond flour and coconut flour begin to absorb some of the moisture, this batter will thicken up. So don't be a bit wary if you think it looks a little bit too thin. If you just let the batter sit for a couple minutes before you pour it into your baking dish or baking pan, you'll see that it thickens up just a bit. Then I'll add in any of those chocolate chips or walnuts, anything like that you want to add in. We'll go ahead and do that in just a moment. Okay, so I have full walnut halves here that I'm just breaking up because I want them to be in pieces. You can definitely buy walnut pieces or use like a mortar and stone and crush them up. But I'm just kind of doing it with my hands. So I have about a half a cup here. Again, if I had chocolate chips, I would probably do a half cup chocolate chips and a quarter cup walnuts, but I don't, so I'm just doing walnuts today. Fold everything on in, and if you come take a look at the batter, you'll see it's thickened up a bit. So compared to that last clip, you'll see that the coconut shreds have already absorbed some moisture. So this is what we're looking for. I'm going to go ahead and pour it in our baking pan. Okay, I have my pan here that I put just a tiny bit of coconut oil in. So this is technically a non-stick pan, but I always like to just be careful and ensure that nothing will stick. So I'm putting a tiny bit of coconut oil all along the bottom and a little bit on the sides, just up the rim slightly, just to ensure that nothing will stick. And then we will pour the batter in and we'll cook our bread at about 350 degrees. Now it depends what type of baking dish you have, the time in the oven will change. So for this little, it's actually like a pie dish, it'll probably take about 30 minutes, 25-30 minutes at 350 Fahrenheit. Sometimes I bake it in like a bunt cake pan. That usually takes a little bit longer. If you want to make these into muffins, totally do that. They're delicious as well, but you're going to probably have to cook it only about 15 minutes. So keep an eye, again, if you're using a dish like this, it's going to be about 25 minutes, but we will keep an eye on that and we'll be right back.
Why you put only the half?
A little bit of chocolate in part of the banana bread.
What do you mean, just for you?
No, because I either want a lot of chocolate or no chocolate. I mean,
Just and to know which size I will eat will be mine.
Per Lokmane's recommendation, I have decided to mix the chocolate throughout the whole bread. Okay, great. So we're just going to throw this in the oven for about 20-25 minutes and keep an eye on it to make sure if we see it browning slightly around the edge and firming through the middle, that's when we want to take it out. So we'll wait about 20-25 minutes and then we'll be back here. Alrighty, so perfect. If you take a look in there, you see it's getting brown at the top. We don't want it to burn. This looks great. So we're going to take this on out, set it right over here. And if you come take a look, it looks perfect. Of course, mind the time, keep an eye on it. You don't want it to burn. This took almost exactly 25 minutes. And yeah, we'll let it cool and then we'll start eating. Great, so that's all that we have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this banana bread recipe. It's really moist, it's super delicious. I think you're gonna really like it. So, of course, let us know if you have any questions about the recipe. I will post the recipe in the description below, like always. And yeah, leave us a comment. Let us know how it tasted. We'd love to get your feedback. Of course, to subscribe and like the video if you haven't already. Feel free to share it with some friends. We really appreciate the subscriptions. And yeah, we love sharing with you. So we'll be sending out another video next week on Thursday. The recipes come out every Thursday. And then if you're interested in yoga too and you haven't seen, check out the other videos on my channel. I am a yoga instructor, so there's also some really cool yoga content. As well as a really cool Moroccan video Lokmane and I took recently as we were shopping in the Medina. So yeah, lots of good content on the channel, so check it out, and we look forward to seeing you guys next time. Thanks!
Okay, we talk together, we eat together. Okay, let's see how it tastes. It's nice because in Morocco we don't think we can use banana to make a cake, but it's worth actually. It's fluffy. Oopa, here we go. It tastes good. Actually, you see, I almost finished it.